20 million cosmetic procedures last year.
Portrays cosmetic surgery as a fulfilling experience.
Do you remember those women who seemed absolutely untouchable? The ones who lit up your television in the 70s, 80s, and 90s so brightly that you genuinely thought she is just going to be beautiful forever? The faces we grew up adoring, the haircuts we brought to the salon, the smiles we watched fall in love on the silver screen. What you are about to discover is something the tabloids have danced around for years.
Where's the famous Ostrovsky neck freckle? You had it removed.
Oh. But nobody has ever told with the honesty it truly deserves. We are going through 15 of the most iconic Hollywood beauties, one by one, talking about the moment the needles went too far. Some of these stories will genuinely shock you. Some will break your heart a little. And number one, oh honey, number one is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Stick with me through all 15. If you love celebrating these classic Hollywood legends, hit subscribe right now. We do this every single week, and you do not want to miss a thing. Let us start with a woman who simply disappeared, and I mean that literally. If you went to the movies in the 1980s, you were almost certainly mesmerized by Daryl Hannah, the ethereal blonde of an entire generation, the breathtaking mermaid in Splash, alongside Tom Hanks, the haunting replicant in Blade Runner. For our generation, she represented a Hollywood magic that simply could not be replicated. Those piercing eyes, that wild blonde hair, and above everything else, that extraordinary bone structure. High sweeping cheekbones and a sharp jawline that gave her face a raw, authentic geometry no doctor could manufacture. It was entirely, purely her own. As the years passed, those sharp, natural angles were buried under layers of volume that blurred everything that made her face extraordinary. And then she just vanished. She withdrew from public life entirely, retreating to a quiet, environmentally focused existence far from Hollywood's glare, and has remained completely silent about any procedures. No interviews, no explanations, just gone. What most people never knew, during her peak fame, Daryl was romantically linked to JFK Jr., and his future wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, was actually a devoted admirer who championed Daryl as a major muse in New York's elite fashion scene. Even her real life read like a screenplay. Some stories are beautiful and heartbreaking at the exact same time.
If you want to look good, I mean, you look good for what you are, you know, and you kind of gauge it to...
Now, here is a name that deserves far more attention than it gets. And if you recognize her immediately, good for you. As the wickedly calculating Abby Cunningham on Knots Landing, Donna Mills was one of the most captivating villains on all of 1980s primetime television. Those electric cat-shaped eyes became so iconic that women across America lined up at makeup counters asking for that exact look. I remember it so well. In her prime, Donna possessed a precise, almost architectural beauty, sharp features, a perfectly defined jawline, and porcelain skin, controlled, elegant, completely unforgettable. Unlike Daryl, who retreated into silence, Donna stayed visible, which made the shift all the more noticeable. Over the years, the precision that defined her face disappeared underneath a soft, rounded fullness that erased her signature sharpness, leaving fans genuinely struggling to reconcile this new face with the Abby Cunningham they remembered. She has stayed quiet about her cosmetic journey, but the before and after photos tell a striking story entirely on their own. The fascinating, untold piece. Donna had a big creative hand in shaping her character's storylines at a time when women rarely got that kind of input behind the scenes. She was always far more than a beautiful face, which makes her transformation all the more poignant. Now this one is going to feel very different from the last two, because Vivica A. Fox does not do quiet, and she certainly does not do regret. Playing Will Smith's fierce girlfriend in Independence Day, stealing every scene and Set It Off, swinging a blade in Kill Bill, Vivica had an unshakable confidence that made her one of the most beloved screen presences of her generation. Radiant complexion, a brilliantly wide smile, a beautifully defined jawline. She looked like someone who could take on the world and look effortless doing it.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, 60.
60!
Unlike Daryl, who vanished, and unlike Donna, who let the silence speak, Vivica has never been remotely apologetic about taking control of her appearance.
When I say a partner, I want someone that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's not intimidated by who and what I am.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
good.
we'll be all.
And I don't discriminate. He can be. I'm not against different nationalities. And you know that too.
In recent years, audiences noticed a stark shift. The sharp contouring of her jaw and cheeks replaced by an intensely rounded, expanded mid-face that pushed her natural features shoulders toward the margins. When asked about it, she was characteristically direct. As long as you keep getting better, whatever it takes, you do it. If you're comfortable with it, you like it, I love it. And the untold detail that genuinely made me smile. Vivica recently converted an entire bedroom in her home into a professional glam room so she can feel like a superstar every single morning. Whatever you think of the choices, you have got to admire that level of commitment.
Absolutely in shock at how great you look.
If Vivica owned her choices with confidence, Janice Dickinson owned absolutely everything, loudly, and denied most of it anyway. Before Instagram even existed, Janice was fiercely claiming the title of the world's very first supermodel, dominating the fashion world throughout the 70s and 80s, gracing countless magazine covers, and later bringing her unfiltered personality to America's next top model. In her modeling prime, she was extraordinary. Flawlessly sharp cheekbones, a perfectly sculpted jaw, and natural full lips that made her a photographer's dream. Her face was all raw angles and untamed perfection. Over the decades, her relentless pursuit of perfection resulted in a wildly artificial face. Her lips were injected far beyond any natural proportion. Her features so thoroughly pumped and lifted that the angular beauty of her youth was completely replaced by something stretched and barely recognizable. She once famously claimed, and brace yourself, "I don't get anything in my cheeks. I have perfect bone structure, and my lips are mine." The world was not convinced. The most dramatic chapter, she appeared on Botched to have a decades-old implant replaced, then publicly accused the surgeon of botching her surgery. He fired back, pointing out she had removed her own surgical drains during recovery and refused to stop smoking. Janice Dickinson has always been the most compelling character in every room she enters, even when that room is a recovery ward. And now we slow down, because this next one is not funny, it is not dramatic, it is just genuinely sad. The ultimate Hitchcock blonde, her haunting dual role in the 1958 masterpiece Vertigo cemented Kim Novak as a cinematic goddess for the ages. Mystery, sultriness, and a beauty that simply does not exist anymore. In her prime, Kim had a soft, sensual face, striking arched eyebrows, and a completely natural, graceful contour to her cheeks that required nothing at all to enhance it. Can you believe what happened at the 2014 Academy Awards? At 81 years old, Kim walked onto that stage to present an award, and the audible gasp from the audience was heard around the world. Her face was completely immobile, lips strangely inflated, her cheeks so thoroughly treated that her eyes seemed to be pulled backward. But this one still hurts, because what the entire cruel pile-on completely ignored was this. Kim had survived breast cancer, severe horse riding accident, and bipolar disorder, and had retreated from Hollywood decades earlier to live quietly on a ranch painting and raising animals. She came to that stage as a survivor. She deserved a standing ovation. That is the part of this story I genuinely cannot let go. After the heartbreak of Kim Novak, here is a story that actually ends somewhere hopeful. As scheming Sammy Jo on Dynasty and the ruthless, iconic Amanda Woodward on Melrose Place, Heather Locklear commanded every scene she was ever in. Feathered golden hair, dazzling eyes, naturally high cheekbones, and a sleek jawline that needed absolutely nothing done to it. One of those women the camera just fell completely in love with every single time. Recently, photos resurfaced that left fans genuinely stunned. The sharp, elegant bone structure of her Melrose Place days had softened into something noticeably rounded and different from the woman viewers had adored for decades. But here is what truly sets Heather apart from almost everyone on this list, the woman who emerged on the other side of all of it. In 2025, she has spoken openly in interviews about her personal journey, her addiction recovery, and reflections on choices that changed how she looks. The willingness to say publicly, "I went through some things and I came out the other side," that is the most beautiful thing Heather Locklear has ever done. And I mean that completely. We are halfway through our list now, and the top 9 contain the names that will genuinely surprise you. These were not just beautiful women. They were the blueprint, the gold standard, the faces that defined entire eras of Hollywood beauty. Number 5's origin story is something I genuinely could not believe when I found it. Keep going. From the deep personal battles of Heather, we go somewhere completely different, because Goldie Hawn's story starts with pure, infectious joy. From her Oscar-winning turn in Cactus Flower to beloved hits Private Benjamin and Overboard, Goldie was an unstoppable cinematic force. That infectious laugh, that impeccable comedic timing, those massive, expressive blue eyes that made her light up every frame she appeared in. Her face was never about technical perfection. It was about life, real, radiant, irresistible life. The public was taken completely off guard at the 2024 and 2025 Academy Awards. When Goldie stepped onto that stage, the internet erupted. Her skin was pulled extraordinarily taut while her cheeks were significantly inflated, creating that contradictory look experts recognize immediately. Tight on the outside, overfull in the middle, visibly crowding those famously enormous eyes, the very feature that made her a legend. Goldie has shrugged it all off. I believe that life is about doing. It's about transitioning. And the sweetest untold detail in this whole story, she and Kurt Russell were not even at those Oscars to show off. They were quietly working behind the scenes to support daughter Kate Hudson's nomination.
Kate Hudson, yesterday, this role scored the actress her second ever Oscar nom.
A devoted mother right to the end. Now here is the entry that stopped me completely cold when I researched it, because this woman did something almost nobody on this list had the courage to do. French actress Emmanuelle Béart became a global name with the 1986 classic Manon des Sources and captivated American audiences as the brilliant, seductive spy in Mission Impossible alongside Tom Cruise. Critics described her as having gem-like eyes akin to eternal morning stars, a face that felt like a timeless classical painting come to life. Unlike so many on this list who stayed silent, Emmanuelle spoke with heartbreaking, complete honesty. At just 27 years old, heavy botched injections in her lips threw off the entire delicate balance of her face permanently. I had my mouth done when I was 27. It was a botched job, she admitted openly, calling it a grave act in which you don't necessarily foresee all the consequences. And then, rather than retreating in shame, she turned that experience into a fierce public crusade, demanding stricter psychological screening before irreversible decisions are ever made. That is not a woman who crumbled. That is a woman who fought back. And I think she deserves enormous credit for it. From Emmanuelle's rare courage and honesty, we turn to a woman who chose the complete opposite path. Total silence, total disappearance. As the sweet, secretive Donna Hayward on David Lynch's surreal masterpiece Twin Peaks, Lara Flynn Boyle captured something rare and completely unforgettable on screen. She followed that with a powerful run on The Practice and the seductive alien villain role in Men in Black 2. Razor-sharp cheekbones, pale, flawless skin against dark hair, piercing, expressive eyes. One of the most distinctively beautiful faces of the entire 1990s. The transformation that followed remains one of Hollywood's most debated mysteries. That razor-sharp structure was gradually submerged beneath an alarming softness. Lips that appeared nearly bursting. Cheeks expanded far beyond her natural proportions, leaving her face perpetually and dramatically altered. And then she simply vanished, choosing silence and privacy over any explanation whatsoever. During her Twin Peaks days, her behind-the-scenes romance with co-star Kyle MacLachlan reportedly caused enough turbulence that she influenced the writers to abandon a planned romantic storyline for his character. Intensity, it seems, was always Lara Flynn Boyle's defining quality, on screen and off. And here is the one that genuinely reframes everything, because Melanie Griffith's story has a beginning that almost nobody knows. Her Academy Award-nominated performance as the ambitious Tess McGill in Working Girl made her a feminist icon for an entire generation. Soft, dreamy beauty, a natural jawline, soft blonde hair, sweet, expressive eyes, the delicate balance of a true Hollywood ingenue with real fire underneath. As the years passed, heavy lip treatments and a significantly filled mid-face gradually erased the delicate bone structure that defined her youth. She eventually had much of it dissolved, acknowledging the immense unfair pressure placed on women in Hollywood to freeze in time. Her daughter, Dakota Johnson, paid a quietly beautiful tribute to her working girl era by recreating one of Melanie's famous scenes line for line in 50 Shades Darker, and that detail just warms my heart every time. But wait, here's the untold piece that completely reframes her whole story. Melanie's very first cosmetic experience was never about vanity. As a teenager on a film set, she suffered severe facial injuries that required actual reconstructive surgery. Her complicated relationship with her own face began not in a beauty clinic, but in a hospital room. Does that not change the way you see everything that came after? Now I said number 5's origin story was the one I could not believe when I found it, and I meant every word. Lisa Rinna burst onto television as the beloved Billie Reed on Days of Our Lives, and later cemented her presence on Melrose Place and The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That signature pout made her one of the most recognizable faces in celebrity culture for decades. Before the interventions, she was a genuinely striking natural beauty, glowing complexion, perfectly proportional features, a wide, easy smile. Her story is the ultimate cautionary tale of stacking, layer upon layer of injectables accumulated over years until the face simply cannot absorb anymore. Her lips grew exponentially. A later hydrating gel treatment caused significant unnatural volume expansion in her mid-cheek area, leaving her face rounded and stiff. To her enormous credit, she has always been self-aware. I've gone too far with everything. Let's face it, I have. But the origin story, oh honey. At just 24 years old, after watching the movie Beaches and becoming obsessed with actress Barbara Hershey's pout, Lisa got permanent industrial silicone injected directly into her upper lip. Over the years, that silicone migrated and hardened into what she described as feeling like peas trapped inside her face, forcing her to undergo major reconstructive surgery decades later to literally cut the scar tissue out of her mouth. If that is not the most powerful warning label in the history of cosmetic procedures, I do not know what is. Everything we have covered so far, the stacking, the silence, the regret, none of it prepares you for what happened to Priscilla Presley, because hers is not just a cautionary tale, it is a crime story. The beautiful young bride of Elvis Presley, who later built her own formidable career on Dallas and in the beloved Naked Gun films, American royalty, synonymous with lavish, untouchable glamour. In her youth, Priscilla was near mythic. Skin like poured porcelain, jet black hair, those signature feline eyes lined to perfection, the ultimate living doll. The metamorphosis was heartbreaking in its severity. Extreme facial overfilling created a swollen, rigid appearance that threw off every delicate proportion that once defined her. She has spoken about the crushing pressure of maintaining an impossible image, even recalling that she stopped to apply false eyelashes before heading to the hospital to give birth. But the darkest story here is genuinely chilling. Her transformation was not simply bad fillers. A scam artist named Daniel Serrano hosted exclusive Beverly Hills injection parties, promising a miracle European anti-aging serum. In reality, he was injecting celebrity clients with industrial-grade silicone designed to lubricate automobile parts. He was imprisoned. Priscilla was left with permanent damage, requiring painful reconstructive surgeries just to begin repairing what he did. That story gives me chills every single time. After the darkness of Priscilla's story, here's the one that actually gives you hope. For 10 extraordinary years, Courtney Cox brought Monica Geller to life on Friends and became a horror icon as reporter Gail Weathers in the Scream franchise. Raven dark hair, piercing blue eyes, naturally prominent cheekbones, and a lean sculpted jawline that perfectly framed her bright wide smile, the kind of beautiful that never needed to announce itself. It just quietly filled every room. The pressure to maintain that iconic face led her down a slow, painful slope. Over time, the natural architecture of her features gave way to a puffed, rounded appearance. Cheeks significantly expanded, the whole face simultaneously tight and bloated. And then, can you believe this? Courtney explained exactly how it happens with more honesty than almost anyone else on this entire list.
Which, thank God, they are removable, but I think I messed up a lot.
You keep doing more because you look normal to yourself. You look in the mirror and go, "Oh, that looks good," she confessed, admitting the injectables made her look a little off, and that her fear of aging was ultimately a bummer and a waste of time. She had every filler dissolved. She reversed it completely. She even wanted to post her own before and after photos publicly as a warning to other women. Courtney Cox did not just become a cautionary tale, she became a beacon, and that matters. From Courtney's hard-won redemption, we come to the sweetheart who never quite got hers. And this one hits differently, the undisputed queen of the romantic comedy. When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, crowned America's sweetheart with an on-screen magic that made her feel like your warmest best friend. That famously crinkly, infectious smile, those bright blue eyes, the signature messy chic blonde haircut that women across America brought to their salons with a magazine photo in hand. As the years passed, something shifted. The cheeks were heavily treated, the fullness pushing upward when she smiled until it crowded those famously expressive eyes, creating the opposite of the youthful glow it was meant to achieve. Meg has always pushed back. The idea of a movie star is 100% projection. And here's the lovely surprise most people genuinely never ever knew. Long before America's sweetheart, Meg was fiercely studying journalism at NYU and dropped out with literally one semester left to graduation because her side hustle filming commercials accidentally turned into a full acting career. And Meg Ryan is a completely constructed name. She was born Margaret Hyra and chose her screen name from her grandmother's maiden name when she registered with the Screen Actors Guild. The real woman behind that famous smile has always been far more interesting than any character she ever played. And we have arrived. The moment I promised you from the very beginning. And I want to say this clearly. No other entry on this list generated more global conversation, more medical analysis, or more genuine shock than what happened here. Madonna did not just participate in pop culture, she defined a generation. The ultimate chameleon who set every trend rather than followed them. For the 40-plus generation, she was the blueprint for female power. Simply, completely untouchable. In her prime, her face had a striking, commanding quality that was entirely her own. A natural, strong jawline, piercing, defiant eyes, bold brows, and classic bone structure that conveyed a fierce, rebellious energy. There was nothing generic about her, not even slightly. The transformation was a slow, stubborn march toward the extreme, until the 2023 Grammy Awards delivered the moment the entire world stopped and stared. Madonna walked onto that stage so dramatically altered that people genuinely did not recognize her at first. Cheeks pushed high into her eyeline, her jaw softened beneath unmistakable heaviness. The fierce, natural architecture of her face buried completely underneath it all. She responded with characteristic defiance, pushing back hard against the public reaction and making clear she had no interest in discussing her choices with anyone who disagreed. A board-certified surgeon stated it appeared she had undergone multiple face and neck lifts with extreme volume being the telltale sign of significant overfilling. But here's the ending most people still do not know. Following the intense public response, insider reports from aesthetic professionals revealed that Madonna quietly underwent procedures to dissolve much of the excess volume. Today, she carries a notably more refined, refreshed appearance. Even the Queen of Pop eventually felt the weight of what had been lost. And in that quiet reversal, in that very human private moment of finally saying enough, she became somehow the most relatable she has ever been. From Daryl Hannah's buried bone structure, to the person who permanently altered Priscilla Presley's face with automobile lubricant, to Courtney Cox's extraordinary decision to dissolve everything and tell the truth, these are not just beauty stories. They are stories about fear, about mirrors that lie, about an industry that placed impossible demands on women who were already more than enough. The encouraging thing? The era of the pillow face is fading. More women are choosing to dissolve rather than add. More voices like Courtney's and Emmanuelle's are speaking honestly about what went wrong. There is something quietly hopeful in that. Which transformation surprised you the most? Drop her name in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, subscribe right now because we have so many more classic Hollywood stories coming your way, and you absolutely do not want to miss a single one.